Hare Krishna Dronacharya Prabhu, looks like it's sideways. Much better. Perfect.
It's actually Sita. Hare Krishna, Madam.
Hare Krishna. Yes, that's good. Thank you.
We ran out to get.
Looks good now.
Jai Shri Gaur Nitai Jagannath Prabhudev Subhadra Maharani ki Shri Radha Sharad Bihari ki Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda.
Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar
Shivasadigo Bhaktavrinda.
Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Bhaktavinda. Jaya Shri
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivraja Vicharya Shobhitara Shishimara Savangarisha Desi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivraja Vicharya Shobhitara Shishimara Savangarisha Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Prem Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Navadvait Mayapur Dham ki Gangamaya Yamunamaya ki Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Brihat Mardanga ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada lada daine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Shilatanka nakalaye. Ito nishinga parato nishinga. Ito nishinga parato nishinga. Tato yatanam tato nishinga. Tato yatanam tato nishinga. Ira shinga niraira shinga. Ira shinga niraira shinga. Ashinga arim sharanam prapade. Ashinga arim sharanam prapade. Adhuta shinga. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to ISKCON of Philadelphia's Sunday program. Special welcome to all those out there joining us via Zoom and on our YouTube channel. We welcome you. Today we are we're doing part 2 of a series by His Grace Amarendra Prabhu. Last week he began us with the journey on the keys to surrender, and we'll hear again from him today. A few words that I would like of introduction for His Grace Amarendra Prabhu. He is a disciple of His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj, as well as he's taken a lot of shelter and instruction from His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. He has his Bhakti Shastri degree. He got it in Mayapur at the young age of 19. And he's traveled quite extensively throughout the world, giving wonderful talks on Krishna Katha, the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In addition to that, he's ventured into the scientific communities. He's been invited to numerous scientific symposiums, being able to address the questions of life to them. He's also been invited to esteemed places like MIT and Harvard to speak at interfaith conferences as well. A couple things I didn't mention about him last week, which I thought were worth noting. It's good to know about devotees and their backgrounds and their histories. He's from a very very nice, wonderful devotee upbringing. Both his parents and family are devotees, Vaishnavas, which you can see from his exemplary understanding and his behavior. He's been nurtured and nourished in the right ways. But he also holds a dual master's degrees in both electrical engineering and business administration. Again, these are nice to know about the different devotees, where their careers are and where their learnings have come from in their families. So, Amarendra Prabhu, are you with us? Are you there?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare
You're there. Okay. Real quick, I want to give you we're going to do a quick darshan like we did last week, to both you and our viewing audience. Something special. 1 second. We'll start off with His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Most merciful Lordship, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki.
Jai.
Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki.
Jai.
Most beautiful Lordships in their Sunday best, Shri Shri Radha Sharad Bihari.
Jai. Jai. Jai.
Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you once again, Amarendra Prabhu, for taking the time to come and join us today. We are quite blessed, and last week you left us with a kind of a wonderful taste in our mouth, and you're here today to take us to that next step deeper in surrender. Thank you.
Haribo. This name Radha Sharad Bihari has been playing in my mind for the last 1 week. So even now, when I was joining in, it was about 4:29. The class is 4:30 Eastern time. So I was trying to join in 4:29. And when I saw the number 29, I remembered that the Rasa Leela in the 10th canto starts on chapter 29, 5 chapters starting from chapter 29. And then that came up to the point that Krishna in the Rasa Leela danced on the night of Sharad Purnima. Therefore, he is Sharad Vihari. It all made perfect sense.
Wow. That's called seeing Krishna everywhere. You have that vision to be able to see, you're thinking in that way. So nice.
So maybe I'll just sing a song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur to start with. Maybe it could be pulled up, if that's possible here, or I request the devotees, you can kindly pull it up online. The name of the song is Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kori. I repeat again, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kori. This is one of the songs from Sharanagati, which means surrender. One of the most impeccable collections of Thakur Bhaktivinoda Mahashaya's songs of devotion, outpouring, heartfelt effusions of divine, ecstatic, poetic expression. So let's sing this song. It's a very beautiful song, and it talks about the 6 limbs of surrender. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kari Swaparshada Shriya Dhama Sahavatari. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kari Swaparshada Shriya Dhama Sahavatari. Atyanta Durlabha Prema Koribare Dana Shikhaye Sharanagati Bhakatera Prana. Atyanta Durlabha Prema Koribare Dana Shikhaya Sharanagati Bhakatera Prana. Dainya Atma Nivedana Goptritve Varana Avasharakshibe Krishna Vishwasa Palana. Dainya Atma Nivedana Goptritve Varana Avasharakshibe Krishna Vishwasa Palana. Bhakti Anukula Matra Karjera Shvikara Bhakti Pratikula Bhava Varjanangikara. Bhakti Anukula Matra Karjera Shvikara Bhakti Pratikula Bhava Varjanangikara. Shadanga Sharanagati Hoibe Jahara Tahara Prarthana Shune Srinanda Kumara. Shadanga Sharanagati Hoibe Jahara Tahara Prarthana Shune Srinanda Kumara. Rupa Sanatana Pade Dante Trina Kori Bhakati Vinoda Pade Dupada Dhari. Rupa Sanatana Pade Dante Trina Kori Bhakati Vinoda Pade Dupada Dhari. Kandiya Kandiya Bole Ami to Dhama Shikaye Sharanagati Koro e Uttama. Kandiya Kandiya Bole Ami to Dhama Shikaye Sharanagati Koro e Uttama. Shikhaye Sharanagati Koro e Uttama. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kori Soparshada Shriya Dhama Sahavatari. Soparshada Shriya Dhama Sahavatari Swapashada Shiyadhama Sahavatari. We'll quickly read the meaning. We can kindly scroll it down. Out of compassion for the fallen souls, Sri Krishna Chaitanya came to this world with his personal associates and divine abode to teach Sharanagati, surrender to the Almighty Godhead, and to freely distribute ecstatic love of Godhead, which is ordinarily very difficult to obtain. This Sharanagati, I can't read to the end. Just a sec. Let me minimize the thing. Krishna Govinda. Yes, this Sharanagati is the very life of the true devotee. The ways of Sharanagati are humility, dedication of the self, acceptance of the Lord as one's only maintainer, faith that Krishna will surely protect, execution of only those acts favorable to devotion, pure devotion, and renunciation of conduct adverse to pure devotion. The youthful son of Nanda Maharaj, Sri Krishna, hears the prayers of anyone who takes refuge in him by the sixfold practice. Bhakti Vinod places a straw between his teeth, prostrates himself before the two Goswami, Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan, and clasps their lotus feet with his hands. I am certainly the lowest of men, he tells them weeping, but please make me the best of men by teaching me the ways of Sharanagati. Thakur Bhakti Vinod Mahashay ki jai. So this song is certainly very beautiful, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur has spoken about 6 limbs of devotion, devotional surrender in this song. It is based on a very famous verse from the Vayu Puran, Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjanam, Rakshishyata iti Vishwaso, Goptritve Varanam Tatha, Atmanikshepakarpanyo, Shadvida Sharanagati. I'll read the translation. The 6 types of surrender are acceptance of that which is favorable for bhakti. This is point number 1. I request all the devotees to mark them in your consciousness, one after another. These are the 6 symptoms. These are the 6 limbs. These are the 6 signs of pure devotional surrender. First is to accept only that which is favorable to bhakti. The second is complete rejection of that which is unfavorable. You see, sometimes we may like things which are unfavorable, and sometimes we may not like things which are favorable. But surrender means even if it is something that I don't have taste in, but if it is something that is very good for my devotional progress towards Krishna, if it is very favorable for my progress, even if it is something that I have no taste for, I still wholeheartedly embrace the process. And on the other side of the spectrum, if there is something that I love to do or think or speak or hear or act in a way which is detrimental, which is unfavorable to the progress of bhakti, then without a second thought, we must reject. This is Sharanagati. These are the first 2 signs. These are the first 2 limbs of devotional surrender. Accepting only that which is completely favorable and complete rejection of something that is unfavorable. So we have to, as we were saying the last week, we have to check our pulse. Am I always doing things which are only favorable for devotion? And have I completely outright rejected things which are unfavorable? Or do I know things are unfavorable, but I still do it because my senses like it, my mind loves it, my false ego loves the gratification, so to speak? Or sometimes there are things which are very good for me, like japa, for example. But because I have no taste for it, do I procrastinate? Do I delay? Am I lazy in executing that limb? This is something to ask ourselves. The third sign, the third limb of surrender is to have exclusive faith in Krishna's protection alone. Only Krishna's protection, nothing else. Of course, in the time that we have, we will try to elaborate on them briefly. The fourth is acceptance of the Lord as one's only maintainer. Only Krishna who maintain me. Only Krishna, nothing else and no one else. 5, total submission of the self. And 6th, genuine humility. So these are the 6 limbs of devotion that are explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in this song. And they're all based on this song, this verse from the Vayu Puran, which is also quoted in the Hari Bhakti Vilas by Jiva Goswami, as what are the six types or the six limbs, the six aspects of pure, genuine, substantial surrender to the Supreme Lord. Now let's get into our discussion on these six limbs. Of course, I will not be able to elaborate and explain everything. All the six limbs, I will not be able to explain even a bit. Why? Because it takes one to know one and explain. Someone who has not tasted mango cannot describe the mango. I am actually like a insect in a neem tree. Neem tree has leaves which are very, very bitter, very bitter. And I'm like an insect which is busy chewing only neem leaves. And if you ask, forget about an insect on a neem tree, you ask a human being to explain the taste of a mango, what would he say? He would say it is sweet, right? Now, what does the word sweet explain to someone who has not tasted a mango? What do you mean sweet? I mean, what is the definition of sweet? How sweet? The feeling of tasting a mango can be experienced only by tasting it. The test of the taste is in tasting the pudding. So if someone who has, a human being who has tasted mango, you ask him to explain, he can't. What to speak of someone who is an insect on a neem tree, who knows nothing but neem leaves. So I'm like that. I have spent millions and millions of lifetimes in this world through different bodies, entering different mothers' wombs in different precarious situations, and I've accepted and rejected bodies in birth and death and suffered miserably old age, disease, and other fault miseries and distress so many times. I have not surrendered to Krishna, because if I would have, I wouldn't be in this world in the first place. I would have gone back to Godhead by now. So I am not surrendered. So therefore, apani na kaila dharma shikhai na jai, ei to siddhanta Gita Bhagavata gai. Chaitanya Charitamrita says one should not preach something that one has not experienced. So unfortunately, I will not be able to do justice to this. But because Srila Prabhupada said that you don't have to wait to become pure, right? Just like if you're in Japan and the neighbor's house catches fire, you're not going to wait to learn Japanese to explain to others that please come and help. The house is on fire. You're just going to do something. You're just going to wave and say, come, fire, fire. You're going to do something, right? You will not be able to probably save the neighbor's house, which is ablaze, but you will try to get some attention from those who are Japanese. You're not going to wait to learn Japanese to explain in Japanese that the neighbor's house is on fire. So Prabhupada gave this example to say that we are all like, we are just like postmen, mailmen, mailboy. I'm simply trying to share the message of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs of Sharanagati and the mood of Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita. So I'm trying to simply transfer or share some pieces of theoretical, abstract, undigested knowledge, information. So maybe some of you may gain inspiration out of it and may practice and may become perfect. So, so Suniti, she got back to God at seat in that airplane. Why? Because she may not have surrendered to Krishna, but she told Dhruva, you surrender to Krishna. And Dhruva surrendered to Krishna, on the power of which even his mother, Suniti, got credit. So similarly, maybe somebody in this assembly may take up to this process very seriously. And then Krishna may also give me a side seat next to you when you go back to Godhead. Although I may not have realized it, but maybe on the basis of your purity of intent, maybe I may be able to share your good fortune. So today we will try to have an overview. I will try to speak, so it's about 4:51 local time. I will try to speak till 5:45. I'll try my bit to speak till there, or maybe end it a little earlier before that, so that we can have at least about 15 minutes of questions and answers. And 6 o'clock local time, I will have to switch because there's another class on another forum. So devotees can kindly forgive me for that. So this surrender, as we were mentioning last time, this mood of surrender is certainly the door of pure devotion. There is a saying that His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says that if you want to understand Krishna, first stand under Krishna. If you want to understand Krishna, then first stand under Krishna, which means first surrender to Krishna, and then we can understand him. Even in Hindi, the word sar means head. So the word surrender means to keep our sar under Krishna's feet, sar under, to keep our head under Krishna's feet. This is the mood of surrender. And our acharyas have been very kind to explain this mood through their verses, through their books, and through their songs. So let's start with the first limb of surrender, which is only accepting things which are favorable. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given a list in his song of things which are favorable. So devotees can, if you feel inspired, I would highly encourage, you can kindly write a few notes here, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given a few points of different aspects which are very favorable to the progress of Krishna consciousness, to attain the lotus feet of Krishna. Which means Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, if you engage in these activities, then devotion will definitely flourish in our heart. Also, our Rupa Goswami Pad in Nectar of Instruction has also mentioned 6 things, as you may know, in the 3rd verse, which are very favorable for the opening up of the lotus of devotion. So I'll come to that in a bit, but I'll start with the list that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives. So here we go. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the first thing that is very favorable in making spiritual advancement is daily attentively hearing about Krishna. Daily hearing about Krishna. We passively hear about Krishna. Bhagavatam classes are taken to be sometimes, it's a sad scenario, unfortunately, that during Bhagavatam classes, people are talking, people are on their cell phones, they're even texting, there are side conversations, the doors are open and people are coming in back and forth. Even in the temple, we see sometimes multiple doors open to the class, Bhagavatam class, or the Sunday feast class. And the doors are open and devotees, visitors are coming on and on and on coming, and from both sides. And those who are in the audience, they're busy looking who's coming in, from both sides. As a result of which, what happens is that assembly is offending Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is a gift in our life. We have become human beings and gained 2 very fortunate ears to drink the nectar of Krishna. We must hear about Krishna's form. We must hear about Krishna's flute playing. We must hear about why Krishna has a peacock feather. We must hear about the glories of Krishna Balaram. Jaladhara Shashin Varnau Gopaveshau Kishaurau Sahachara Gana Vrindaihi Kridamano Vrajeshau Natavara Jitaveshau Neela Pitambaradhyau Jagata Janana Heto Rama Krishna Natosmi. Our acharyas have described the form of Krishna Balaram. They have described the pastimes of Krishna Balaram. So our duty is to hear about Krishna Balaram and Radha Krishna and Gaur Nitai so much so that any time during the day or night we are woken up and we are made to stand and say, you speak 30 minutes about Krishna. We should not stammer and we should not stutter. We should not say, oh, I'm not ready. Why? The person whom we want to sell our heart to, the person whom we want to fall in love with, the person who's going to be the Lord of my life. Who is the Lord of my life? I may or may not have realized that. I don't know enough about that Krishna that I have to really prepare and think hard to speak about him. When we are told to speak about our mother or our wife or our children, we speak. We are given like 5 minutes and we can speak like 50 minutes. Because wherever there's affection, wherever there's love, there's an explosion. There's so much that we want to say and share about that person. So Prabhupada would say that when his initiation name was given to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada said, I will initiate this boy because he's always very eager to hear. So we must be very eager to hear. And even in the temples and in the communities, we should make the environment so conducive, so favorable that everyone in pin drop attention and pin drop silence is in one pointed spirit of unity, listening about the Lord of our life, Sri Krishna. Bhagavatam classes are not meant to be, the place where we doze off. Or sometimes even worse, we are interested in the kirtan. And as soon as the Jai Radha Madhava kirtan is over, I have seen sometimes, unfortunately, just before the class starts, a group of devotees get up and then they leave. And then at the end of the class, when there's kirtan again, they come back. As if this is not meant for me. I am just born in this world to do kirtan. How can I call out to Krishna with all my heart in kirtan when I don't even know enough about him? So therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the first thing is hearing, sufficiently hearing about Krishna. I know one devotee who has this, and I'm pretty sure many devotees also have, he has this box, this audio box, which plays Prabhupada's classes continuously. Continuously, it keeps moving. One tape after another after another. Even when he's sleeping, he hears to Prabhupada's bhajans. So I was very, very inspired. And I asked him, this is amazing. This is very inspiring. Even when he's brushing his teeth, he's hearing. So, and he was telling me when I asked him, he said, I don't know when I will die. I must use my ears to hear about Krishna. What to speak of dying? It's possible tomorrow I may have an explosive car accident and I may lose my hearing ability forever. What to do? At that time, I will cry in repentance that Krishna gave me ears and I didn't utilize it properly. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the first thing under the first section of accepting that which is favorable is to hear about Krishna. The second is to visit the dham, the abode of Krishna's pastime place, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, etc. So many are there. To visit, to perform parikrama, to circumambulate, to visit all the places. Let's say we go to Vrindavan for a month. We make it a point that we visit different pastime places and we hear about the glories of that place. And with the camera, the lens of our eyes, we take snaps, we take pictures of that place. And our consciousness should have the film of what we witnessed in the dham, what we heard, and all that serene, pristine, beautiful, wonderful, holy places. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, preferably we should even live in a place which is very favorable for spiritual cultivation. Sometimes devotees ask this question. They've even asked me this question, this is typically those who are Indian-bodied devotees living in America. They would ask, Prabhu, you're from India, but you live in America. Please tell me which of these places is more favorable for Krishna consciousness. Should we live in America or should we go back to India? And my response is very simple. You have to decide on the basis of your family. For some, they have this extended family in India. So when you go back to India, you're going to spend more time attending everybody's marriage anniversary and first birthday and name-giving ceremony. And it's quite a commitment when you have relations and joint family system. It has its positives and it has its negatives too. So you have to decide if that is the environment you're going to get into, and that means more people and more sources of misunderstanding even. I'm not making a blanket statement. It has case-by-case basis on the basis of family. So you have to decide if that is the environment you're going to go into, then it's more favorable in America where you have more time. Maybe the traveling time from your work to home, commute in India is going to be more time consuming than in America. So you can come home quickly and then you can chant more and serve more. And more importantly, we have so many preachers and we have so many devotees in India. We need more helping hands in America. This is the land which saved the world by helping Srila Prabhupada. This we must understand. So that is one side of the story. But on the other side, if you think going back to India will be more conducive, because maybe you will have your parents to help out with parenting for your children. Maybe your children may not have proper friends or proper Krishna conscious upbringing, if that's what you think here in America. And if you think by going back to India, you will have help in raising your kids in a Krishna conscious environment, then that is very wonderful. So case by case basis, the point is it's not whether it's USA or whether it's India. What is more favorable for Krishna consciousness for you personally and for your family, that is where you should go. So picking of the place of residence and also focusing on the abode, dham. Third point is to make a sankalpa, a promise that I will put into my mouth only that which has been accepted by Sri Hari. This is a very tough thing for me. Very tough thing for me. I'm sitting here and speaking, hypocritic fellow. I'm sitting and speaking here. But after the class, if someone gives me something, oh, it's something very tasty, and my hand will go there without this calculation. Has this been accepted by Sri Hari? Is this bhoga or is this prasad? Bhaktivinoda Thakur said this. This is very favorable thought process. Even our Srila Prabhupada said, all the senses can be controlled. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyai sevon mukhehi jivhado swayameva spuratyadaha. That all the senses can be controlled if the tongue is controlled. And Srila Prabhupada said the tongue is controlled by only feeding Krishna prasadam, nothing else. And chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. You may chant Hare Krishna, but if the diet doesn't match the practice, then it will take time to fructify. And we may accept only Mahaprasad, but if you're not chanting enough, if you're not chanting Hare Krishna, then that is also an incomplete program. So we need both sides of the story. Fourth point, one must prioritize serving Tulsi Devi. These are words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I can send you the reference. I'm not speaking from my mind. These are words of our realized father of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So his words are the words of Krishna. He is speaking Sharanagati. So fourth point is Tulsi. We must worship Tulsi every day. Ya drishtha nikhilaga sanga shamani sprishta vapu pavani roganam abhivandita nirasani sattayini pratyasatti vidayini bhagavata krishnasya samropita nyastat charane subhakti falada tasyai tulasyai namaha bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay kshiptascha kamadi taranga madhyai kripamayi tvam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charanara. Offering prayers to Tulsi. For that, you can look to the Vrinda Devi Ashtakam by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. You can kindly put an asterisk there and search for Vrinda Devi Ashtakam. Vrinda Devi Ashtakam. You can search it on KK songs also. It is composed by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. 8 stanzas. You can chant. You can just take a print out and chant in front of your Tulsi Rani, your Vrinda Devi. She will profusely bless us. So many prayers are there. Our Prabhupada said, Tulsi Aarti twice every day, morning and evening, so that we prioritize Tulsi. If we prioritize Tulsi in our life, Tulsi will prioritize us at the lotus feet of Krishna. She will throw us at the feet of Krishna. That's her responsibility. That's her responsibility. Fifth point, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, it is okay to have material desires, but one must be sincere enough to dovetail them to Krishna. Dovetail them to Krishna. One may have the desire to have a comfortable house. One may have 2 kids, and one may have a desire to, I don't want to live hand-to-mouth sustenance. I want a comfortable life. Okay, that's a material desire again. It's not pure devotion. Let me make it very clear, because pure devotion means simple living, high thinking. But this is a compromise. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, no problem. We don't have to beat ourselves down. We are crawling our way back to Godhead. So what's the way out? We dovetail it in Krishna's service. Which means if we have a big house, we invite Vaishnavas. We have deity worship. We have elaborate deity worship. We cook for Krishna in that house. We have kirtans every day in that house. We invite Vaishnavas. We have Hari Katha, Hari Kirtan. We cultivate Tulsi. And we hold festivals. Now that house has transformed into Golok Vrindavan. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when I come home and I see kirtan going on, it seems as if Goloka Vrindavan has manifested in my house. So you don't have to live in a cowshed. I mean, you're free to if you want to. But if you desire a big house, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, dovetail it in Krishna's service. Don't live it with an exploitive mentality of enjoyment. Try to connect Krishna to that. Try to connect Krishna to that. If you like to have a fancy car, that's up to you. I'm not encouraging you. But at least, make it a point that you take your family to the temple, you drive to more Krishna conscious places, you use that car in going to different family programs and Vaishnav Seva and different activities. So in that way, you try to cultivate. I'm not saying that's a need. That's really needed to make advancement. But I'm just saying, if you want, you can dovetail it. Next point, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, get into the habit of serving Vaishnavas. How? Not with the mood that if I do this for him, then when I ask him for the favor, then he will be very kind to me. No, this is calculative, analytical, duplicitous behavior. We must serve Vaishnavas selflessly, thinking that Krishna does not accept my service. But this senior Vaishnava who's chanting so sweetly, who's studying Shastra so deeply, who's so sincere on his path of bhakti, who's so steadfast and so strict and serious on his path, if I serve him, then I stand some chance in getting Krishna's mercy. With this mood of genuine humility. And how do we serve that Vaishnava? We serve that Vaishnava according to the desire of that Vaishnava. If that Vaishnava says, oh, I am going to, I need this, Prabhu, can you kindly arrange? And if we try to negotiate with him and say, oh, Prabhu, why are you just asking for this? Actually, I'll get you that. Or I'll get you this. And then we may mess up the service. So service means not what I think is good for him. It's what he wants, really. If you go to a birthday party, you're going to give the birthday boy something that is useful for the birthday boy, not something that I like. I'm not going to give him something that I like. I'm going to give him something that he likes. Similarly, Vaishnav Seva means Vishrambhena Guru Seva, which means serving with affection, with love, according to their fulfillment. Some Vaishnav may need some even material help. Some Vaishnav may lose his job during the COVID pandemic. So if he's finding it difficult to maintain his family, and we say, oh, this family life, it's actually a grihamanda kupa. Did I tell you to get into this family life? Now it's your headache. No, that's not proper application of Krishna conscious principles. It must be applied with sensitivity. It must be applied with compassion. So if that Vaishnava has lost his job, it's my duty materially, if it's in my ability, to make sure that that Vaishnava is helped. Just so that that Vaishnava can have a conducive environment. If the Lakshmi is flowing in the form of his paycheck, then he can favorably advance in Krishna consciousness. He can use that time to chant nicely. So Vaishnav Seva. We should serve Vaishnavas for our benefit. We should not think we are doing a favor on them. We should think that Vaishnava is so kind to accept my service to purify me. Next point, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says we should be very, very careful in observing Ekadashi. Ekadashi is the mother and devotion is the daughter. So Ekadashi is the pregnant mother and devotion or bhakti is in the womb. So if you welcome the pregnant mother in the house, along with the mother, the baby in the womb is also coming in, which means Ekadashi is the mother. And when you welcome Ekadashi with respect, then the baby in her womb, which is devotion, will also enter our life. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani. We must be very, very attentive in observing Ekadashi. Sometimes our mentality is such that we look at the calendar and we say, hey, tomorrow's Ekadashi. How did it come so early? It seems like last week I just followed Ekadashi. So it's almost like we hate it when Ekadashi comes in. It's almost like a roadblock, a speed breaker on our sense gratificatory plans. And sometimes it's also funny. We speak like this. Tomorrow's Ekadashi. Mom, can you just make pizza tonight? Because I can't eat it tomorrow. So it's like, let me try to amass as much as I can today before Ekadashi begins. But we should be very, very happy and eager. Because when we follow bhakti on Ekadashi, we get 10 million times the benefit. Ekadashi is the day for spiritual business multiplicity. You can make more profit on Ekadashi. Why not invest in a business venture where you're going to have double the profit? So Ekadashi is like that. So we should be very happy. We should make announcements. Dear devotees, tomorrow is Ekadashi, which means reduce as much personal bodily necessities are needed and engage more time in hearing and chanting and worshipping Krishna so that we can make the best use of this human form, which is a bad bargain. So Madhava Tithi, holy days, occasions, we should be very happy. The appearance, the disappearance of Vaishnavas, Krishna Janmashtami, Radhashtami, Julan Yatra, the swing festival, Balaram Purnima, and then Kartik month. All of these festivals we should enjoy. One time, one man came to Srila Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, you're speaking so much about Krishna. What if at the time of departure you realize there is no Krishna? Your life is a waste. Srila Prabhupada smiled and he said, let's for the sake of argument, believe that there is no Krishna. Still, there's no harm. I lived my life. I enjoyed myself. Every day is appearance, disappearance. Then there's swing festival. Then there is boat festival. Then there's Janmashtami. Then there is Radhashtami. Then there is Sharad Purnima, Kartik. And there's Gaur Purnima. Then there's Ram Navami. We are having chanting, dancing, fasting, and feasting. So even if there is no Krishna, said Prabhupada, for argument basis, he said, still we had a happy life. We were singing together, dancing together, and feasting together. Prabhupada said, but now I want to flip the story back to you. You lived all your life thinking there is no Krishna. What if at the time of your death you realize there is Krishna? Your life is gone a waste. So Prabhupada said, Pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam susukham kartum abhyayam. Bhakti is to be performed with very joyfully. Ekadashi should not be seen as a day of hate or a day of disappointment, disgust, being upset. Sometimes we say, what time is the Paran time tomorrow that I can break my fast? I'm going to wake up and eat a cheeseburger or whatever. That's not the mood. The mood is we start the fast with the mood of surrender. And we conclude the fast with the mood of surrender for Krishna's pleasure. Next point, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says is we should perform lots of kirtan every day. Even if devotees are not around during the lockdown, we have a mridanga right here. Prabhupada has given us kartal and mridanga and a bit of harmonium. We don't need anything else. We are sitting. We don't need anyone. If there's no one around, we still take our mridanga and kartal and we can sing. We can sing. So many devotees use instruments. We can dovetail your instruments and musical ability. How did Prabhupada start this movement? He started with musicians coming in who wanted to play for Krishna. So that's wonderful. But the main thing is to do it, right? We so many times talk about it, but how many of us actually do it? There's enough instruction about Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. But how much time do we give in the demonstration more than the instruction? So even if you're alone, we can just take a kartal or we can take a mridanga. We can clock ourselves and say, half an hour, I'm just going to sing for my Krishna. We have our Sri Vigraha deity at home. We're just going to sit in front of him and play kartal and sing. How does it matter whether we are keeping the beat or whether we are melodious in singing? These are all external. Of course, if we can keep the beat and we can sing melodiously for Krishna's sensitive ears, that's wonderful. But even if it's not, the desire, the intention to please Krishna by chanting his names is more important than the musical ability. The will is more important than the skill. The skill may or may not be there. It can be cultivated, of course, but the will to do it is more important. So just to pick up the mridanga, just to pick up the kartal, even if we don't know to play the mridanga, big, big, bum, bum, big, big, flat, flat, big, big, bum, bum, big, big, flat, flat. Everyone can play that beat. It's not a big thing. We can just keep the beat and sing. So many wonderful Mahamantra melodies are there. So many Vaishnav songs are there. Why are we being miserly in performing kirtan, which is the only yuga dharma in this age of Kali? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says another favorable thing to do is to chant lots of japa and kirtan. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur says another thing that is very favorable is to worship deities. So all of us must have some deity worship, some amount of deity worship. It could be very simple process of deity worship, and it could be very elaborate, depending on our family situation, depending on our material responsibility. We can offer the best that we can to Krishna. Our mind should always keep thinking, oh, it's 6 o'clock in the evening. Now it's time for my Krishna to have some cut fruits. Oh, it's 9 o'clock at night. It's time for my Krishna to have a glass of milk. Oh, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. So it's time for my Krishna to have some sweets. Because he's a baby. So he likes to have sweets and wake up with sweets. So always to keep thinking, now this time, what am I supposed to do? It's always is a very wonderful way to be Krishna conscious. Srila Prabhupada would, he initially, in the start of the movement, he established the concept of Gaur Nitai happy dolls. He would give the worship of Gaur Nitai in the form of small happy dolls. You may have seen small ones. Nice, cute Gaur Nitai. that would come in a box, and Prabhupada would tell the devotees, just distribute this happy doll to anyone on the street. And in that, there used to be 3 incense sticks. And behind that box, there used to be a message that all that you have to do is take these incense sticks and light them up and keep waving around these happy dolls. And that will bring in all auspiciousness and prosperity in your life. That was the message. So Prabhupada introduced and got in the worship of Gaur Nitai on the streets of New York City. This was his compassion. And one devotee asked Prabhupada, you have said that you have to wave it around Gaur Nitai, but you haven't said how many times. Prabhupada said, keep waving till the time your hand doesn't start hurting. Keep waving. So the devotee started waving around, making circles around Gaur Nitai. So the point is, we must all have some deity worship. If nothing is possible, at least the culture of offering repeated obeisances to Krishna, offering an obeisance to Krishna as we wake up, as offering obeisances to Krishna just before we go to sleep at night, offering obeisances when we cross the room. Let's say our deities are in our main room. If we cross the room, we just bow down and we leave. It's possible when we get old, we may have varicose veins and arthritis and lower back problem and slip disc and whatnot. We will not be able to bow down to Krishna. Why not do it right now when the body is fit and fine? The body is to ultimately fall to the ground at death. Why not fall to the ground while being alive? And Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, Manmana bhava madbhaktau madhyajimam namaskur. Out of the 4 things he's asking for, he's saying, if you can do anything, just offer your obeisances to me. So that's one thing in deity worship that we can employ. Very simple. Another thing Bhaktivinoda Thakur says is the culture of accepting Charanamrita. So for those who have deities, Laddu Gopal, Krishna Balaram, Gaur Nitai, you can, whenever you bathe the deities, you can accept the Charanamrita, the water which has washed the lotus feet of Krishna. Or when we go to the temple, when we go to our ISKCON temple, our centers, we should build this culture that whenever we go to the temple, we offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas, we offer obeisances to Prabhupada, we offer obeisances to the deities, we take darshan, we offer prayers to them as we are standing in front of them. We observe them with our eyes. We see what color dress they're wearing, what kind of garlands they're wearing, how beautiful they look. So that when we close our eyes, those deities are actually, the picture is imprinted in our consciousness. And then we also accept Charanamrita, because the deities are worshipped every day in all our temples. So there's Charanamrita at all times. So we should be greedy. We should ask the pujari, can I have little Charanamrita? Because we should understand the importance that this Charanamrita will purify my consciousness. And finally, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this same mood should be there for all rivers, whether it's Ganga water, Yamuna water, etc. So these are some things which are very favorable. Also, our Rupa Goswami has mentioned six things which are very favorable as far as moods are concerned. He says, this is again in the 3rd verse of the Nectar of Instruction. Rupa Goswami says, in the acceptance of things which are very favorable, 6 things which are very favorable are Utsahat nishchayat dhairyat tat karma pravartanat sangatyago sato vritte sadbhir bhakti prasidhyati. He says, Utsahat, one must be very, very enthusiastic. Why should we give a class glorifying Krishna where you are dull and morose? We are speaking about Krishna. Think about how lovers speak about each other in this world. When there's some romantic reflection of love in this world, you see how they speak. You ask them, oh, what's the name of your wife? Let's say not wife, just before that. Let's say, what's the name of your fiance or whatever. And the person doesn't just stop at the name. He says, yeah, she lives there. This is what she does. This is her background. Why is he speaking more than needed? Oh, because there is affection in the heart. And he speaks with enthusiasm. He doesn't go like this as he speaks, right? So why should we not be enthusiastic while speaking about Krishna, who's the Lord of our life, who's mat prananatastu sa eva napara? Whether we are singing for Krishna, whether we are dancing for Krishna, whether we are speaking about Krishna, whether we are serving Vaishnavas, enthusiasm is very important. Pran achhe jar tar hetu prachar. Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur said, enthusiasm is the life air of devotion. We must preach with enthusiasm. We must live life with enthusiasm. Srila Prabhupada was asked, what if I don't feel enthusiastic? Prabhupada said, act enthusiastic. Just fake it. In America, we say, fake it till you make it. So Prabhupada approved of that as far as enthusiasm is concerned. Utsahad nishchayat, having confidence that Krishna will protect me, that this process of bhakti will work. There's no doubt. Sometimes just because we're not getting the results that we are expecting, we may think, is the process of bhakti actually a true path? Is Krishna consciousness a true path? We must be completely convinced, because those who have taken up to this path in the past, they have succeeded. And many, those who have sincerely taken up to this path in the process, in the present situation, present generation, they're succeeding. And many in the future will succeed. So the problem is with us. We must have complete confidence in this process. The third is nishchaya. We must also have patience. Prabhupada gives the example that anything that is beautiful takes time to blossom. Look at the flower. If you try to open up the petals of a lotus prematurely, it may open up, but it'll wither away very soon. But if you let that lotus open up on its own, we have patience, then it's fragrant, it's beautiful, and it stays there longer than before. So anything that's beautiful, think about a flower, think about a fruit. It takes time to fructify. It takes time to blossom. Srila Prabhupada would give the example of beautiful baby being born. It takes 9 months for the mother to give birth to the child. So anything that's beautiful takes time, and we must have patience. It's not that I want to be a pure devotee, but it's not that I want to be a pure devotee right now. Yes, but we must have patience. Millions and millions of lifetimes of bad impressions need to be washed off from our consciousness. So it's going to take time. So we must have this considerate, compassionate, sensitive mindset when we look into the lives of others. We should not be jumping like a deer to judge that, oh, this person, he's singing, he's speaking all of these things, but I know in his life, this is what he does. We should not do that, because it takes time. He's sincere, but it's going to take time to overcome those anarthas. As in America, we say, we don't throw the baby out with the bathing water, with the bath water, right? You don't throw the baby out with the bath water. You drain the bath water, but you keep the baby, which means you drain off their faults, but you keep their genuine substance, devotional substance. So we must have patience. This is the third. Utsahad nishchaya dhairya tat karma pravartana. The fourth point, very favorable for devotion, is complete adherence to the scriptural injunctions. Yah shastra vidim utsrujya vartate kamakaratah nasa siddhim avapnoti nasukham na param gatim. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has said, if you follow Shastra, everything is auspicious. If you don't follow Shastra, then what happens? 4 things happen. Yah Shastra vidim utsrujya, you break scriptural regulative principle, vartate kamakaratah. One becomes very, very greedy in this world, very lusty in this world. The sense gratificatory desire multiplies. And then second, nasa siddhim avapnoti. We fail to succeed in even material endeavors. Think about all the defamatory news that we have heard in the past and even in the present of big, successfully materialistic people, even successful people, coming down, rolling down the hill of fame because of a sexual misconduct, of illicit affairs, or whatnot, bribe or whatnot, different scenarios. Even materially speaking, when we break regulative principles, we break scriptural conclusions, what happens? Advertisements, endorsements, ads are all taken away from them. And the brands are all taken away from them. Their celebrity status comes down. So Krishna is saying, if someone doesn't follow scripture, they're going to become very lusty in this world. The desire for material enjoyment will increase. Second, they will not succeed even materially. Third, na sukham, they will not be happy. And fourth, forget about getting back home, back to Godhead and higher realms of elevation. So first principle is to follow Shastra. So this is what Rupa Goswami says. Then the fifth point that Rupa Goswami says is Sangatyaga. One should exclusively take shelter of those who are senior to us, befriend those who are equal to us, again, in a devotional way, and compassionately help those who are junior to us, who are innocent. Ishware tad adhineshu balisheshu dvishatsu cha prema maitri kripopeksha ya karoti sa madhyama. 11th canto Bhagavatam describes. We must have love for Krishna, service attitude towards superior Vaishnavas, friendship with equals, and compassion for those who are innocent. At the same time, we must keep distance from those who are envious. We serve the envious by keeping a distance. Why? Because we keep them close to us, they will criticize devotees. They will criticize the path. So we save them from criticism by keeping distance from them. We serve them by keeping distance. So here, Rupa Goswami says, Sangha Tyaga. One should associate only with those who are devotees as much as possible. Well, someone may ask this question when I am working in a corporate environment, I am in an IT company, or I have my own business and I have people working for me. At that time, I have to do my duty materially and they may not be Krishna conscious. Well, the point is we also have to be practical. We have to use our intelligence. That if there is something that is materially good to keep the money flow coming in so that family life is taken care and I can chant properly at home, I have to do that. That is also service to Krishna. But the point here is one should not associate more than needed with those who are averse to the path of bhakti. This sincerity we must have. This power of discrimination we must have. This power of discrimination we must have. So 3 kinds of people, Rupa Goswami says, that we should give up association of, which again, Prabhupada also quotes from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Asat Sangha Tyag Ei Vaishnava Achar, Stri Sangi Ek Asadu Krishna Abhakta Ar. What are the 3 kinds of association that we must give up? We must give up association, intimate dealings with the opposite sex. Except for one's wife, one should not have direct intermingling, giggling, sporting, privately, intimately talking, and whatnot with the opposite sex. Doesn't matter who it is, where it is, how it is. Matra swasra duhitra va na viviktasano bhavet. Balavan indriya gramam vidvan sapi akarshati. The 9th canto Bhagavatam describes, typically one should be so cautious that one doesn't get close to even one's mother, sister, or daughter very closely on the same seat. You know, in this material generation that we live in, it's so horrible. The consciousness is so contaminated and polluted. I don't even have to continue my sentence. You know where I am going with that. People are getting so demoniac that they are putrefying such pure relationships as well. So one should be very careful that one doesn't, of course, for service, sometimes we will have to talk to somebody's wife or somebody's mother or daughter, but we must be very, very careful. This is a very Kanaka Kamini Pratishtha. The alluring spirit of Maya through the opposite sex is very powerful. And this is not a statement against women. It goes both ways. It's just opposite sex. So for women, men are Maya. For men, women are Maya. We have to contextually see this. I'm not talking about devotees, non-devotees, etc. When we have to serve together, we must be in the right spirit of service. But we definitely know there are times when, let's say, someone in the opposite sex laughs at our joke. And the false ego immediately says, oh, that Mataji liked my joke. How would I pull off another colorful feather from my cap? And what happens? We are slipping down the road. We are not in this world to win any popularity contest, please. We are in this world to get Krishna, nothing else. Nothing else. So this is the first thing to give up. We must be very careful. The dealings between Matajis and Prabhujis, Prabhupada talks about this repeatedly. So I don't have to repeat it again, but we have to be very cautious, especially in the present generation where WhatsApp and iMessage and email and female and whatnot, it's so easy. And Gmail, it's so easy to intermingle. We must be very, very careful. And we can also justify, well, this is what I was speaking. This is why I said it. She asked me first. So at the end of it all, Paramatma is the witness. Our sincerity is at check. So we know it best. Second type of bad association to give up. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says the association of those who are antithetical, completely envious, averse to the process of bhakti. Those who don't want to hear about Krishna, we have nothing to do with them. We have nothing to do with them. If there is someone who comes and criticizes my mother or my father, well, my expression of my affection for my parents is, if you don't like my parents, I have nothing to do with you. Is it not? If there is someone who doesn't like my child, for example, or doesn't like my brother, or doesn't like my father, I have nothing to do with you, because you're criticizing my brother. You don't like him, you hate him. So please forgive me. I have nothing to do with you. That's the expression of love. So similarly, if we love our spiritual master, if we love our Vaishnav community, if we love Krishna, then we keep away from those who are envious. And the third kind of bad association to give up is to give up the association of those who may act as devotees but are very, very duplicitous, very, very hypocritical in nature. Their words may say something, their actions may say something. And it's not that they are sincere, but they are pushed by their past impressions. That's a case of sincerity. If someone is pushed by their past impressions, but they're repentant and sincere, that's another case. But when someone analytically, through deliberate practice or plan making, acts in ways which are not good to Krishna consciousness. Practical example, think about Putana. She dressed up herself as a devotee, but she wasn't. Think about Ravana when he came to kidnap Mother Sita. Yeah. So we have to see, we should be genuine substance seeker, not form seeker. So these are the things. Sato vritte. And finally, the sixth point that Rupa Goswami says, which is very, very favorable to making advancement, Krishna conscious advancement, is to follow the instructions of the predecessor acharyas. So these are things which are very, 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 very favorable on the path of bhakti. Very favorable. These are, when we accept them, then we will make a lot of advancement. But apart from the do's, there are also the don'ts. The do's and the don'ts. The prescription and the proscription. Right? The prescriptions and the proscription. The doctor always says, you take medicine. But at the same time, he says, give up sweets. He will say, give up fried food. Give up spicy, oily food, for example. So there's the medicine on one side. There's the things, the do's, the dosage and the frequency of the prescription. But at the same time, there are the don'ts. So therefore, apart from just point number one, taking care of things which are very favorable for the path of bhakti, the other flip side is also second limb of the 6 limbs of Sharanagati, is to give up things which are unfavorable to the path of bhakti. To give up. So now Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given a few things, a list of things which are unfavorable. So you may, if you feel inspired, you may kindly take a note of that. Also, I can send you the reference where Bhaktivinoda Thakur says all this, so you can read it yourself and inspire yourself. Pratikulyasya varjanam. So what are the things which are not very favorable on the path of bhakti? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, point number one, if someone does not accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we did not accept their friendship. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, if someone doesn't know Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and is innocent enough, he's open to know, then that's a case of innocence. Then that's good. But if there's someone, those who criticize Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or they have nothing to do with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we must give up. That association is unfavorable. Second point, Bhaktivinoda, very, very important. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we should not live in a place which is detrimental to bhakti. Detrimental to bhakti. Let's say if there's a place where there's no association of devotees, we can live in one of the two spirits. One, we can think, oh, that's a very wonderful preaching opportunity. Here there's no temple, there's no center, there are no devotees. Why not? Charity begins at home. So why not I start with preaching programs in my house and invite a few friends and colleagues? That's one way to go by it. And the second way to go is, this place doesn't have association of devotees, so I'll give it up. Even if it gives me a job where I'm making enough money, I will search for a job. I'll search for an occupation in another city, in another place where there are a lot of devotees. Because why am I making that money? I am working a full-time job to make that money. But why do I want to make that money? It is so that I can practice bhakti. But to practice bhakti, you need association. Shruti smriti puranadi pancharatrik vidhi vina ekantiki harer bhaktir utpata eva kalpate. If someone is all by themselves trying to see that, oh yes, I don't need any association, I am going to do nirjan bhajan, I am going to be by myself, then Prabhupada says very soon he will either be found with a woman enjoying, or he would be found sleeping if he's all by himself. Either laziness or sense gratification. So therefore we need association. So if we say that, well, I have a job here in the city, there are not many devotees here, hardly one family, somewhere that to 40 miles away. So let me change my job to another city where there are bhakti vrikshas, where there are preaching programs, where there's something going on. Even if that job gives me less the salary, no problem. This is very favorable for bhakti, because we are putting our spiritual advancement on prominence. That's the predominating prominent consideration in our life. Or if we're ready to become soldiers, then we can live there and try to preach, to establish, because every city started from scratch. So that's another way to look at it. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says we should not live in a place which is detrimental for bhakti, or we should not let our consciousness be resonating in a place which is detrimental to bhakti. The third thing that Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions is one should not take up an occupation which is detrimental to bhakti. We should not take up. If there is a job that we are taking up where we have to sell meat, for example, or we are in a shop where we have to sell liquor, we may make money at the gas station, but do we want to make money by selling meat and cigarettes and liquor? Is that what we want to do? That job is not very conducive for bhakti. So if we want to make advance in bhakti, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says our source of income must also be very conducive for bhakti. If we think we are working, let's say we are working at a place where hundreds and thousands and millions of rats are being killed at the research center that we work at, because maybe we are working on the brain of mice, testing medicines, let's say, right? Because before medicines are tested out and come in the society of humans, they must be tested. And the mice brain is very close to the functioning of the human brain. So generally the testing is done on mice. So when someone has an occupation where, we may have a PhD, we may be a research scientist, and we are every day injecting different medicines, or let's say sometimes we have to see the effect of Alzheimer's in a rat. And you see when it's injected, the rat slowly starts becoming slow and it forgets the coordination of its legs. We have to ask ourselves, is there no other profession in this whole world by which I can sustain myself? Aindra Prabhu would say, the army runs on the belly, but what the hell is the army running for? He would say this, the army runs on the belly, but why is the army running for? What the hell is the army running for? It's running to win. So therefore, we may have a profession where we are making that money. But why are we having that job in the first place and making that money? To perform bhakti. Perform bhakti. So we can just become a teacher somewhere, for example, and teach and make money. And nowadays we have so many things we can do. Everything's become digital and online. You can do so many things. Sometimes people ask this question, what if we are stranded at a desert and the only thing we have to eat is let's say camel meat? What do you Hare Krishnas would do at that time? And the answer is, at that time we will set up a center there and offer Krishna something, and then we will feed. We don't have to worry. Our situation is not that bad, that we're not living in a desert with camels around, right? So we have to make sure that the choice that we make in life for the place of living, for the occupation that we're living, is all free of karma. if not free of karma, everything is tainted with karma, at least minimum karma. Minimum karma. This sincerity we must have. These are the words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I'm simply trying to practically extrapolate for relevance. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur says one should not read books which are not conducive for bhakti. We should not read things which are, or hear things which are detrimental to devotion, which means unnecessary browsing of the internet also, because we're reading. Nowadays, we're not so much on the books, but we are always on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. So Maya Kali Maharaj has entered at the fingertips. So we must be very, very careful. All these devices are made so that they can help in the progress of Krishna consciousness. Look at how many videos there are about chanting and dancing and philosophical presentation of Prabhupada's expression of Prabhupada's philosophy. So we need more of that. We are not against technology. We're not against phone. We're not against laptops. Prabhupada says in his purports, the dictaphone or the microphone that he uses, Prabhupada says we use all these gadgets, but it's for Krishna's pleasure. This is very, very important. Prapanchikataya bhaktya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshu bhi parityago vairagyam phalgu katyate anasaktasya vishayan yathartham upayunjataha nirbandha Krishna sambandha yukta vairagyam uchyate. Rup Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu has said we must be very, very careful how we utilize things. So we must not read or hear much things about, which are against the conclusions of bhakti. Then coming to what Rupa Goswami says in Nectar of Instruction, he says in verse 2, 6 things which destroy bhakti, which are unfavorable, which must be given up, is too much eating. Point number 1. Too much eating. First point. Atyahara. Second, prayasa, trying to beat a dead horse, so to speak. Something that is useless labor. Our Rupa Goswami Pad says we should give it up. We should instant chant Hare Krishna. Atyahara, prayasa, prajalpa, unnecessary talking. Unnecessary talking. We should ideally talk only about Krishna. If not, we should keep quiet. Or we talk things which keep our material profession or material life in control. That which keeps it going. If we have to give a presentation at work, we're not going to say, oh, this is Prajalpa, this doesn't have Krishna. No, we're going to do a good job there. We are representatives of Prabhupada's movement. Every person with tilak and kantimala practicing bhakti, we must be ideal gentlemen, even materially. We don't have to be very ambitious, but at least we must do a good job ethically with honesty and integrity so that we don't put Prabhupada's movement down. So Prajalpa, we must be very careful that we don't speak things which are unnecessary. And fourth thing Rupa Goswami says which must be given up is niyamagraha, breaking of regulative principles or fanatically following regulative principles without understanding the essence of it. We don't want to follow the rules so hard that we remember the rules and we forget Krishna. The rules are to be followed so that Krishna is remembered. So either we very fanatically apply those rules or we neglect those rules. Both are detrimental. Atyahara prayasa prajalpa niyamagraha janasangascha laulyamcha. Janasanga, associating with people who are against Krishna consciousness. And sixth, laulyam, to be materially very, very ambitious, to be very, very greedy for material accolades and accomplishment. If it comes on its own accord and we are working very hard, it comes, no problem, we can accept it. I know some devotees who are so intelligent. They are offered promotion at work, but they know when they're offered promotion, they're going to get more money, which means they're going to get more sapped with twice the hard work as far as time is concerned for the corporation. So what they do is they reject the promotion and they're ready to be where they are with the same money, even if that means they're not going to get the money, because with that limited time, their Krishna consciousness is progress. They don't want to compensate, or not compensate. They don't want to compromise their Krishna consciousness. So these are things which are detrimental. Also, some other things which are detrimental is to give up the offenses that we commit to the holy name. 10 offenses to the holy name. Then 10 offenses to the holy abode of Vrindavan. Vrindavan Dham. Dham aparad. So there is Nam aparad, Dham aparad, Seva aparad. There's 32 offenses to the deity that we commit. That must be given up. So Nam aparad, Dham aparad, Seva aparad, Vaishnava aparad. The king among every aparad. Vaishnava aparad. Again, 6 types of Vaishnava aparad. Hanti, Nindanti, Vaidveshti, Vaishnava, Nabhinandati, Kridyate Yati no Harsham, Darshane, Patanani Shat. To kill a Vaishnav. Nindanti, to criticize a Vaishnav. Hanti, Nindanti, Vaidveshti, to envy a Vaishnav. Vaishnava Nabhinandati, to not offer worship, to not offer obeisances on seeing a Vaishnav, to not respect a Vaishnav, or to displease a Vaishnav. That's Vaishnava aparad. Then to get angry at a Vaishnav, to shout at a Vaishnav, and to neglect a Vaishnav and not feel happy on seeing a Vaishnav. These are all Vaishnava aparad. So we must give up Nama aparad, Dham aparad, Vaishnava aparad, Seva aparad, and Jiva aparad in general, offending any Jiva. So these are the different aspects as far as the do's and don'ts of Sharanagati are concerned. So these are the 2 limbs. And just for record's sake, I'll name the other 4. We wouldn't have time to discuss them. By Krishna's sweet will, maybe when the time is right, someday, when we all meet, we can discuss. So the third aspect of Sharanagati is Rakshishyate iti Vishwaso. Krishna is my only protector. It's not Kung Fu. It's not anything else which is going to protect me. It's not my insurance policy which is going to protect me. It is not my gun which is going to protect me. It's only Krishna who's going to protect me. That's the third. Fourth is Goptritve Varanam Tatha. Krishna is my only maintainer. When I get old, what is going to happen to me? Who's going to take care of me? Money, 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 brighter than sunshine, yet sweeter than honey. The rich man's joke is always funny. So no, Krishna is my maintainer. So third point, Krishna is my only protector. Fourth point, Krishna is my only maintainer. Fifth, Anukulya se sankalpa, pratikulya se varjanam, rakshishyate iti vishwaso, goptritve varanam tatha, atmanikshepa. Fifth point, moment to moment, to throw myself to Krishna's ever-changing plan, ever-changing will, to accept reversals in life with gratitude. Whatever Krishna throws my way, I throw myself to Krishna in complete adjustment. And sixth is genuine practice of humility. So these are the 6 limbs of Sharanagati. Now we can check our pulse to see. When we see and we say that I am a devotee, in fact, then we get proud of the fact that I am a senior devotee. Oh, you got initiated after me. You don't know as many shlokas as I know. You don't sing as many songs as I do. Oh, you don't do this that I do. And we get proud of our pride. So we are actually, if we genuinely introspect, we are fallen in the stool pit of material conditioning. We are helpless. But the point is, bhakti is very powerful. Krishna is very merciful. Only if we genuinely understand our fallen state and call out to Krishna, that when will these 6 limbs of these 6 symptoms of Sharanagati rise in my heart genuinely, then Krishna, through the Guru, through the Vaishnavas, will empower us. So I'll pause here. We have about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes of questions and answers. So I would like to pass the call back to our Dronacharya Prabhu. So Prabhu can kindly do as he like.
Hare Krishna, Amarendra Prabhu. What a complete and comprehensive breakdown of an explanation of the 6 limbs of surrender that you gave us. I feel completely fulfilled. But I think that there are some questions that are there that the devotees would like to interact with you. Our first up is Ram Kumar Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So thank you so very much for the wonderful session and so much of content which I am not able to write all, but I will go through video again and I will cover up. So thank you so much. Thank you very much. So question is, Prabhuji, you were mentioning about the deity worship. regarding deity worship, is there any kind of restriction, like initiation is required, then only we can do that, or number of years of connection is required in the ISKCON, then only we can do that? If we have the deity and we are following properly, following with Mangalacharanam, Tulsi Arti, Mangal Arti, Tulsi Arti, Mangalacharanam, Sikshastakam, 10 offenses, and the all. So is there still something which is, my concern is, I am particularly under the shelter of Guru Maharaj. So is that initiation required? Then only we can have the, we can do the deity worship, or we can do that, or number of, is there any particular required, like number of years of association in ISKCON? Particularly for me, I was with Gayatri Parivar, almost approx 25 years in Santi Kunj Haridwar. We follow their chanting of Gayatri Mahamantra. So, so then my relatives are there in the ISKCON, connected with approx 20-22 years. So I came into contact, and then finally we decided to go through, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. We went through the several books of Prabhupada Maharaj, starting with the first Science of Realization. There we come to the contact of bona fide spiritual master and bona fide things. So those all things. So that is the question, Prabhuji. If you can put light on that, that will be very helpful for me. Thank you so very much.
Hare Krishna. So what is the qualification to have deities? This is a very, very interesting question. Very practically speaking, first of all, one should have pictures. One should try to relate to Krishna in the form of pictures. Because whether it's deity or whether it's pictures, Krishna is transcendently present. Krishna is present on the basis of the devotion of the devotee. We may offer Mangal Arati and Tulsi Arati and Narasingha Arati, but if we don't have an affectionate, loving, devotional call to Krishna, Krishna will not accept, even if he's in the deity. But if we have that, we cultivate that devotional substance in our heart, then even if it's a picture, Krishna will accept. Krishna's Bhava Grahi Janardhana. I can go through the motions of devotion, but behind those motions, where are my emotions? That's most important. Krishna's coming to taste something that he doesn't have, and that is love for him. So to develop that, how do we go? First and foremost, first principle of bhakti, which goes from day one in ISKCON to spiritual world. That is to always be under the guidance of a superior Vaishnava or Vaishnavi. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say, it is always better to be a speck of dust at the lotus feet of one's spiritual master than to be an independent dancing angel. So therefore, we may be initiated or we may not be initiated. First thing, still we must have a Siksha Guru. We must have a superior Vaishnava under whose guidance day to day we can submit. This is the book that I am reading. These are the classes that I am hearing. These are the practices of sadhana that I am performing. This is the schedule of my day. Oh, dear superior Vaishnava, please guide me. And then if that superior Vaishnava feels that, oh, the devotee has been following very nicely, with his approval, he may empower the devotee to worship the deity. But however, if someone wants to still worship a deity, then the deity that doesn't consider any offenses is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaur Nitai. And the proof for that is found in the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where it is said, Gaura Nam, Gaura Dham, Gaura Rupa Gun, Aparada Nahi Mani Tarite Nipund. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the forms of Gaur Nitai in the form of deities, they don't consider any offenses because they have appeared for Kali Yuga. So even if we don't have devotion, even if we don't know what to do, even if we don't know how to do Achman, we can still have Gaur Nitai deities, no problem. But to have Radha Krishna or Shaligram Shila, Govardhan Shila, Krishna Balaram, etc., one must be qualified. One must be initiated. One must be having some ruchi, some nam ruchi. some seva vritti, some sambandha gyan, some genuine understanding and realization that I am not this body. I am an eternal part and parcel of Krishna. And by serving my Lord, I will be happy. One must have that conviction that Krishna das ei bishwas korle to ar dukha nai. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, if we have complete conviction that I belong to Krishna, then there is no dukkha in this world. So first and foremost, we should have a living Siksha Guru who's very advanced on the path of bhajan. And then under his guidance, Tishtan Vrajet Tad Anuragi Jananugami Kalam Nayet Akhilam Ityupadesha Saram. Rupa Goswami says, under the guidance of a great soul, we should practice bhakti. Sometimes our Diksha Guru may have time for us, and then he may be our prominent Siksha Guru. So in that case, that's wonderful. But in the organization, that the ISKCON institution organization that we have, our spiritual masters have taken responsibility of saving mankind. So they may have thousands of disciples. So at that time, we must have a Siksha Guru who teaches us in line with our Diksha Guru on the basis of Prabhupada's books. So I advise you must find a Siksha Guru, and under his guidance, you must ask. I am like a pharmacy store owner. I may have different medicines, but you must have a prescription from a doctor of your own. Then accordingly, I can suggest, because I don't know everything about you. But the general understanding is one should start with worshipping the pictures of Krishna, that picture which spiritually turns you on, so to speak. We all have our favorites. We all have our Krishna Balaram or our Gaur Nitai or our Radha Shyam Sundar or Jagannath of our own. And we must worship them all the time, at least starting with worshipping with some fruits or incense sticks, etc. And then Gaur Nitai. And then in the future, if you have so desire, if you develop some lobha, you may have Govardhan Shila, Shaligram Shila. Most important thing, most important qualification to have Krishna is not number of years, is not number of artis that we perform. Most important thing to have Krishna is Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Kiyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Laulyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Koti Janma Sukritirna Labhyate. Ramananda Rai said the only price to pay to get Krishna is genuine greed to have him. So therefore, till the time we don't develop that genuine lobha, we should at least go through the motions. We should fake it till we make it. But it must not be frivolous. It must not be on the basis of mental speculation. It must not be haphazard. It must be orderly under the guidance of a great soul. So please, I encourage you, you find a superior Vaishnav and submit yourself very humbly, favorably, someone who is with whom you can have a friendship mood, but at the same time, reverential mood, who can guide you on this path. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Very much. Hare Krishna.
I'm looking at the time. I remember you said 6 o'clock you had to leave. I think we're willing to stay on as long as you can. I just want to be respectful of your time as well.
Are there more questions?
Let's see. Do we have any more questions?
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Sure. I would like to take this as the last question, because it's not good for me to just speak something and leave. It's my duty to serve to your fullest satisfaction. So Ananya Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, your lecture was wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to listen to you. Prabhuji, you said about, in fact, in many of the lectures in Prabhupada's, he actually mentioned that to stay in Dhamma for 3 days, not more than 3 days, so that we do not do any aprad there. Whereas you said that, we should be going to different dhammas and stay for 1 month, and which I want to, but then I'm always scared that Prabhupada said only 3 days, so I shouldn't do that. So which one should we follow?
Both. If you're alone, 3 days. If you're with senior Vaishnavas, as long as you want. Because the most important thing is we should not take the dham, the holy abode of Sri Hari, for granted. When we live in a place, familiarity breeds contempt. So it's you sometimes see this. I remember when I went to Radha Kund many years ago. I'm from Mumbai, so that's like the place in India where it's the place of Bollywood. right? Just like you have Hollywood in America, Mumbai is the place of Bollywood. People come there to fulfill their acting career dreams. They fulfill there. So I come from Mumbai. So when I went to Radha Kund, I remember one devotee, he introduced my family to a bangle seller there. There was a lady who was selling bangles on the banks of Radha Kund. And this devotee said, "Oh, Maya, do you know where they're coming from?" She said, "Where are you from?" She asked in Hindi, and I said, "Mumbai." She dropped her bangles and she stood up and she said, "Bollywood." And at that time I was thinking, not to put ourselves ahead, but the words of Prabhupada was ringing in my ears that familiarity breeds contempt. When we live in Mumbai, we hanker to go to Vrindavan. And when we live in Vrindavan, sometimes we take it for granted. Another devotee I know, he lived in the Vrindavan Gurukul. He would wait for summer breaks so that he could leave Vrindavan and come to Mumbai and watch movies and live and go to shopping malls, etc. Why? Because he was so much living in Vrindavan that he thought, well, I'm bored with this place. That is what Prabhupada is against. If we live in Vrindavan chanting Hare Krishna with reverential mood of the Dham, because when you live in the Dham, it's very, very anukul. Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutir Govardhana Parvata Jamuna Tira Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutir. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I remember these places in Vrindavan. How can I live without them? If we live in that mood of going to different places, going to the temples of the 6 Goswamis, hearing Harikatha, serving the Vaishnavas, living very simple, chanting the holy name, oh, then we can live in the Dham all our life in Sadhu Sangha. But if we go to the Dham all by ourselves and we take our metropolitan consciousness into the Dham and we think about, oh, what can I shop at Loi Bazaar more than needed? And I can gossip and criticize the Vaishnavas. Oh, I don't have to go for the Damodarashtaka Kirtan. If not today, I can attend Ayendra Prabhu's Kirtan tomorrow. And guess what? That's the 16th of July. Ayendra Prabhu leaves his body. You can't get Ayendra Prabhu again on the 17th of July. So when we have this familiarity mood that, oh, I can get Mangalarti tomorrow of Radha Shyam Sundar, I don't have to go today, I can just sleep. But for someone coming from America, you just have 2 days in Vrindavan. I want to get both the Mangalartis. You see the spirit? If that's the mood, you can live all our life in Sadhu Sangha, in the association of great souls. But if we live all by ourselves in familiarity and taking the Dham for granted, Prabhupada says 3 days. So both statements are true.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It's wonderful. I really understand that now. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Any
very
other
much.
questions? Any other questions are there?
Let's see.
Hare Krishna Kaivalya Prabhu. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. So nice to see.
Your class covered so much depth in each of the aspects. I have such appreciation. I don't have any questions. I'm sure a lot of people are feeling that same way. It was just so complete. I'm really grateful that you were able to share and teach our congregation and community about this extremely important subject matter. Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
I'm your servant. I'm your servant. And if you can pray for me to Radha Sharad Bihari, I will be very happy. I am not asking anything. I'm coming as a beggar, and you can fill the begging bowl with your arms of prayers to Jagannath, Gaur Nitai, and Radha Sharad Bihari. I don't want anything else.
We will, Prabhu. We will. Hare Krishna. And I want to pray that that if Krishna so desires, that maybe you can come join us, even if it's via Zoom, for Sharad Purnima. So that's a
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Your kirtans were also very, very nice, very melodious, and I love it. You know, all those.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you, Mother. Thank you so much. Will you pray for your son?
Yeah, of course, of course. I'm nothing. I'm also just praying Krishna, like I'm taking a bow and asking him, begging him
Hare
for
Krishna.
everything, like you said.
Haribo.
Thank
you
you
so
very
much,
much.
Mother. Thank you.
So-
Thank you.
Okay, I have a few announcements I want to for the ISKCON Philadelphia community. Again, I know that there's viewers that have come in to listen to His Grace Amarendra Prabhu outside of the Philadelphia community. We're very grateful that you've joined us. Thank you so much for this sangha, for this wonderful sangha. The Sunday feast. Every week we've been distributing prasadam. For those of you who are unaware, up to 100 and last week we had 115 devotees that came to pick up prasadam. It's really remarkable. We're so happy that we can serve the devotees in this way. We know that so many of you have been missing the prasadam, the association, the deities, the kirtans, just the way things used to be. And any ways that we can, in a safe way, try to provide that for you, we're extremely great, thankful and grateful that we can provide that service. So to do this, we rely on sponsorships and donations from the devotees. This particular week, the Sunday feast was sponsored by the Govan family on the occasion of Nanda Dulal Prabhu's birthday. So we want to offer our blessings to him, and we pray that Krishna continues to bless him with a healthy life of devotional service. So please, let's chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and offer our blessings to Nanda Dulal Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you to the Govan family. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to we're entering into the festival season here in the Vaishnav calendar, and it's not going to be the same. I know back in March, everybody thought, well, okay, well, it's going to be like this for maybe a couple of weeks, then it turned into a couple of months, and now people are thinking. Then we thought maybe we turned the corner, things were going down, the restrictions started to loosen, and now we see resurgence of COVID cases. And we know that this is real. We know that we have to take it very seriously. And when it comes to festival seasons, we also have to be very safe and take things very seriously. At the same time, we're straddling this, how we provide the festivals and do it in a safe way, fulfilling the desires of the deities, the devotees, and keeping everybody protected. So coming up, we have Julan Yatra, which begins on July 30th. And then that runs for 4 days. It's a Thursday. It'll run Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and end on Monday, which is Balaram Jayanti, the appearance day of Lord Balaram. And then on the August 11th, there is Shri Krishna Janmastami. And the next day we know is the appearance day of His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So there's going to be a lot of questions about how we're going to do this. There'll be numerous emails that go out. In addition to that, we're going to have an Istagosti on the 29th of July. Hope that as many of you can tune in as possible. We'll go over the protocols, the schedules, how we're actually going to operate and facilitate these festivals over that coming week and a half. So please mark this on your calendar. We want people to be informed as much as possible. Sometimes it's hard to know exactly what media that people are listening to, watching, listening to, emails, Facebook, Instagram, Zoom. We're going to try to get it out to all different forums, but we're going to have an Istagosti on the 29th. It's a Wednesday that will allow you to ask questions. It'll be a town hall set up because we want to make this as fulfilling as possible. That's all I have here. We wish everybody a Krishna conscious night. Please also tune in to our daily Krishna Katha, 7:50 a.m. every morning. We have Srimad Bhagavatam class. Wednesday, we have Chaitanya Charitamrita class. By devotees in this community, we have a couple guest speakers as well. But it's very nourishing, fulfilling. See for yourself. Please join in every morning at 7:50, the same Zoom channel. Have a great evening. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha, Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha, Patitanam Pavanevyo, Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Anatakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.